What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another look at recent sales on eBay for CGC graded comic books, mainly 9.8s. Most of these are Copper Age or modern books, but pretty much every major toy line from the 1980s is covered here in every major movie. We've got a lot of Star Wars books to go through, but I wanted to kind of cover the gamut, everything from Amazing Spider-Man all the way through to Wolverine books. So A to W, we're going to cover it all. And prices in general, I would say for the most part, are pretty flat, unless they're very rare books for Copper Age and Modern Age books. It seems like the market has kind of hit a floor, and now they're kind of just hovering in a kind of a tight range. But there are some good deals out there, books that I would consider right now, if they've been too expensive, even here recently, they've kind of taken another leg down, and some of them have really bounced back up a little bit. So let's go ahead and take a look. The first one I'm going to cover is Amazing Spider-Man number 194 in a newsstand. This is the first appearance of Black Cat, Felicia Hardy, in comics. This is one that has bounced, okay? So last month, several of these did sell on Comic Link, both directs and newsstands, and they were kind of in that $2,300 to $2,500 range. This one sold in an auction. Again, it was a newsstand, and it sold at $3,151, so that's bounced up a little bit. I've also noticed away from eBay, where prices can be somewhat inflated, even away from eBay and some of the alternative auction houses for comic books that are CGC graded, this book has bounced back up a little bit. So I would say that now's not a great time to get ASM 194. Why it's bounced, I have no idea. There's no kind of news out there that I'm aware of for the Black Cat. I mean, it's obviously a great book. I think part of it might be because the reason it's bounced is because of that scandal that happened with that seller that was taking lower grade books, sliding it into 9.8 cases, getting it recased, and then selling them off. And I read that over 15% of the entire census for Amazing Spider-Man 194s were affected. So he'd done a bunch for ASM 194. So maybe people are realizing, hey, it's a black cover. It's a lot harder to find this in a 9.8 than I thought. But you know, again, it was a big number of this particular issue that scumbag was reholdering. So I think now maybe people are saying, okay, let's take 15% of the existing 9.8s on the census away. That gets it up to a lot bigger rarity number. So that could be part of it. I'm just speculating completely. Another 9.8 that has dropped like a rock, as I expected and as I warned you guys, is ASM 210. This is the direct edition, the first appearance of Madam Web. The movie came out, and it was a complete and total disaster and a box office bomb. And I said, hey, this book is going to drop like a rock. Now, this one sold for $713. This one closed on February 18th. You can expect that number to drop even further, is my guess. I think it'll get underneath the $500 is my total guess on that. But because the movie was such a failure, that people are going to kind of shy away from this book. And it is a great cover. And if they had done a movie kind of more in keeping and more true to the comic book, I think it would have been a pretty big success. But they kind of made it like a superhero woman's team that was not really related to Madam Web at all, other than her skills of being able to see into the future. So the movie was a box office failure. I'm still going to stream it just to look at Sydney Sweeney, as I mentioned. She is very blessed. I'll say that. This one sold for $713 again, but I would stay away from that one right now because it's going to continue to drop. Here's one that did bounce as well, and this has bounced up. This is the Canadian price variant for ASM 239. This was on my watch list because I'd like to pick it up to pair with my ASM 238 direct edition. Harder to find Canadian price variant. First battle between Spider-Man and Hobgoblin. This one sold for $380, which is kind of a gulp because another one of these sold on Comic Link 2 months ago for sub $300. I want to say the number was even maybe sub $200, but I think it was $260. It could have been $160, but $260 makes a little more sense based on the other sales data I found on Go Collect. So it's no longer available in the database that I could find on Comic Link to kind of compare it to this one, but I know it was nowhere near $380. So this one has definitely jumped up a little bit, and I can understand the appeal to it, but to me, It was a little bit miswrapped on the left-hand side. You can see it was kind of under-wrapped there. So the UPC was really kind of far away, and you couldn't even see the signature for the cover artist, which was John Romita Jr. and Al Milgram. So to me, I'm staying away from it unless it's perfectly wrapped and I can get it for closer to $300. But that was a beauty. It was very nice, and certainly one I'd like to pick up. Here was ASM 300. I've got both a direct edition 9.8 as well as a newsstand 9.6. And so I wanted to talk first about the 9.8. This one sold, again, has bounced. So every ASM book seems to be bouncing up right now. This one sold for $3,800 in an auction. And I also bid on one that was on Comic Link last week as of the making of this video on March 5th. I bid on one, I finished second. So this book is definitely moving up, and I think I missed my window where it got below $3,000 in a 9.8 for the direct edition. It seems to have kind of bounced off that low. It's more going $3,300 to as high as $3,800, which I would not pay. I'm not paying that high a price, but it was a beauty. But it had a little bit of scuffing around Spider-Man. You can see right there. There's a pretty big, pronounced scuff there. Right on Spider-Man. So I couldn't deal with that. It could be a reflection, but from the camera, but I'm not buying that for $3,800, just at the risk of having scuffing right on Spider-Man. It would bug me to death. But $3,800 took it home. Another one sold on Comic Link, which we'll cover in another video maybe next week, or at some other time. I don't know. I might actually release the Comic Link video before I release this one. I haven't decided yet, but the one on Comic Link sold for like $3,200 or $3,300 if memory serves. But anyway, that's another one bouncing. And then here's a newsstand, which I think is actually a good buy right now in a 9.6 newsstand. Now a 9.8, you're talking $10,000. Okay, there's a huge price disparity going from a 9.6 to a 9.8 for ASM 300 in a newsstand. I'm not paying $10,000 for a Copper Age book in a newsstand. Now a 9.6, that was something I would definitely be interested in. At $17.99, that's a pretty significant drop in price to go from a 9.6 to a 9.8, and I'd be perfectly happy with a 9.6 for the newsstand edition. That one sold for $17.99 again. I thought that was pretty fair, and I found several data points all around that number, anywhere from $1,600 all the way up to $1,900. So that was kind of right in the middle there. Freshly graded, perfect centering, perfect colors, everything. It was very tempting. I just couldn't make it work because I was bidding on some other books at the same time this was ending, including an ASM 300 9.8 in a direct edition, and I ended up with none of them. So it's okay. That's the way it goes sometimes. Batman books, here's one that really stings. Okay, so this was the newsstand edition of Batman 404, and I've gone on record as wanting to get this one. And the fair market value is closer to $400, but it just never comes up. This is kind of the year one storyline beginning. It shows Bruce Wayne with his dead parents in Crime Alley, and I've got this one in a direct, but I would love to pick it up at a newsstand. They just never, ever come up. They come up like once every 4 months, maybe, on eBay. So this one popped up for $500. I offered $475, I believe. It was the number I offered, which was pretty aggressive given that the last sale was at $400. It's kind of a down market, really, for Batman books right now, so it was an aggressive bid. And I still lost. Somebody paid full price, so $500. So it is what it is. But I put it in the $475 bid before I even looked on Go Collect for recent sales, and I was like, ooh, I went a little too high there. But anyway, it wasn't meant to be. But someone did pay $500 for it, so that's kind of the new number now for a newsstand Batman 404. Am I willing to pay that? Probably am. I mean, a direct edition's more like $200 to $250, but a newsstand, it just doesn't come up that much. So I don't know. If another one comes up that is as perfectly centered and freshly graded, just like this one, I would be really tempted at $500, even though it's probably a drastic overpay of probably 25%. But that was a beauty, and that stung. That really did sting losing that one. Here's another one in my collection, Batman number 6. Now's a really good time to pick this one up if you're interested. There are a number of these on eBay. I paid around $300 for mine, and that's where it hovered for a while. But this one sold in an auction for $199. One bid on it, and there's another one actually at auction right now on eBay. This is the first appearance of the Court of Owls. I think the Court of Owls is going to have a big presence in future Batman movies. Maybe the Robert Pattinson version, I don't know. Maybe just Batman movies in general. It makes sense because it's kind of like a secret society of the elite in Gotham that basically control the politics and the money and, how much crime it has. They basically are a sinister secret society that controls Gotham. And this is the first appearance of it. And this is kind of a weird hybrid of an evil owl with Batman. So it's kind of a cool cover, very creepy cover from Greg Capullo. And I've got it in my collection. I love this book. I'm tempted to pick up a second copy, to be honest with you. I just love this cover. And now's the time to get it. I mean, it's really dropped in price just here recently. It was going even a couple months ago for like 300 plus. Now it's more like 200. So if you're interested in that book, or you like this cover, or you like this New 52 storyline, which is one of the best storylines in recent memory, I read all of them. This is a great book to pick up. Next up is a newsstand edition of Batman Beyond #1, first appearance of Terry McGinnis in comics. Great cartoon back in the day. This is from 1999, so very tough to get a newsstand for this book, and the price reflected that. This sold in an auction for $3,059. The direct edition's going for more like $900 to $950 right now. But this is a very tough book to find in a newsstand edition, very rare, and that price reflected that. I wouldn't pay that personally, but I can understand Batman Beyond fans doing it because it doesn't pop up regularly, and it's usually right around anywhere from $3,000 to $3,500. But that's a target to aim for if you're a Batman Beyond fan. I wouldn't mind picking up the direct edition. That's as far as I'm going to go with it. But I don't think I'm going to go for a newsstand. That's a very expensive book. I've got a 9.6 for Star Wars books. We're gonna for Star Wars #1. We're gonna go into the Star Wars books now. Everything from vintage all the way to modern. A 9.6 for Star Wars #1, freshly graded, nicely centered for the most part. It had a little bit of overwrap in the lower left-hand corner, but very clean book overall. That one sold for $9.30 in a buy it now situation. I thought that was a very fair price when I looked at the census for 9.6s and what they usually sell for. That was dead on the money. $900 to $950 for a 9.6 with white pages. 9.8s, I didn't pull up any data for this video, but 9.8s are still going $3,500 or so. That's about the going rate. Here's another one I sent. I sent this one out to my Patreon supporters. This was a newsstand edition of Star Wars #35, the first meeting of Luke and Darth Vader in comics. And very tough to find this one in a newsstand as well. I don't have this one in a newsstand. I wouldn't mind getting it. This one sold for $398 in a buy it now situation. Beautiful cover, absolutely awesome gem. Very low census for a 9.8 book. Here is a 9.6 for Star Wars #42. That one sold in an auction for $360. That one had white pages. And then here is the 9.8. That one sold in an auction for $945. So about the going rate right now on the low end is $900 to $950 for Star Wars 42 in a direct edition. Newsstand in a 9.8. You're talking closer to $1,100, $1,200, maybe even as high as $1,300. But now's a good time to pick that one up if you want the first appearance of Boba Fett in comics. Star Wars #68. This one continues to drop like a rock, and probably a good time to pick it up. This one had a little bit of a miswrap, so that kept the price down, but it still sold for $888.55. So almost $900, and $900 to $1,000 is about the right number there. I drastically overpaid for mine. I bought mine too early. It's really come back down by about 50%. So gulp on that one. That one really has dropped. So this one had kind of a weird miswrap, and it was, you can see here at the top, it was miswrapped, and then at the bottom was miswrapped. So that kept the price down. But this is the first appearance of Mandalorians in comics. Great cover. And if you're looking for it, now's a good time to do it because nobody cares about it book right now. Kodor #9, the first full appearance of Revan. That one sold for $520. That one's taken another leg down. This one was going for $600 to $650. $520 in an auction for that one, and that's the way to get it right now is in an auction. But good book, and it's a modern book. It's from 2006, but it's a pretty timeless cover, and I think it'll hold its value eventually. Eventually, they'll do something with Revan, I would think. But even if they don't, it's a great book to have. Dr. Aphra #1 from 2017. This is the 1:25 ratio variant that shows BT1 and 000 on the cover. Very, very cool book. In a 1:25 dark cover as well, low census number. That one sold in an auction just the other night for $203 and change. So I thought that was a really good deal for the 1:25 Dr. Aphra #1, the first solo series for Dr. Aphra. I've got just the standard cover A, but that's a great looking book. Here was a great deal. This was Clone Wars 1 through 5, all of them in 9.8s. So you're getting the first appearance of Ahsoka in comic books, along with 2, 3, and 4, also in a 9.8. And they sold in an auction for $14.26. That is a great deal because Clone Wars #1 usually goes for about $1,100 right now. So you're getting the other 4 books for about $100 a piece. So that was a bargain and was very tempting. But I hope somebody picked that up because you got a great deal on that to get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all in a 9.8, all white pages for $14.26. That is a bargain of a deal. Darth Maul #2, another good time to pick that one up is right now. This is the first Cad Bane in comic books. This one sold for $130. I sent that one out to buy it as a buy it now alert to my Patreons. They did pick that up. I thought that was a really good buy, just given how far that book has fallen. Next up is Clone Wars Free Comic Book Day, the first appearance of Savage Opress, which is Darth Maul's brother. That one sold in an auction for $152.50, another very low price. This one usually goes for $200 to $250. $152.50 is the lowest I've seen for that book in a long time. And a great deal, great cover, dark cover. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for it because most of the buy it now situations on eBay are $250, $220, $250 plus. So look for an auction though, because $152.50 was a good deal. Here is the 1 in 25 Laraka variant for Darth Vader #3. And this one holds its value. This is almost the exact same price I paid for mine like 6 months ago. This is the first appearance of Dr. Aphra and her 2 droids, but it's the 1 in 25 ratio variant. Great cover. I paid $10.35 for mine 6 months ago. This one sold in an auction for $1,009. So it has not dropped at all. It's a really good book. And definitely a really, I think if you're lucky, maybe this shows up on like My Comic Shop or Comic Link, somewhere like that, where you can get it for less than $1,000. But there's one that did sell last night on Comic Link. I did not look it up. I'll cover that in a Comic Link video, but I would bet it sold for less than $1,000. So, you maybe for some of these larger books, look for alternative websites where you're not going to pay sales tax on top of it. At least for me, I don't have to pay sales tax on Comic Link, but that's a great book, and I can understand paying that much for it because I did myself. Thrawn Alliances #1 is a new series that just came out this month, March 2024, and there are several different covers that are out there at auction that are worth taking a look at. This is an adaptation of Timothy Zahn's novel, and I've read the book. It's pretty good. This has got Anakin and Thrawn on the cover. Pretty awesome cover. Hayden Christensen cover. It's kind of like a book photo variant cover. This is kind of the cover for the book. This one sold for $79. And then here is the 1 in 25 ratio variant. So this one's going to be more expensive because for every 25 of the standard covers, only 1 of these was printed. This one sold for $127.50. I think that's a really cool cover as well, to be honest with you. I really like that one. But that's the Paul Renaud variant cover, 1 in 25, and you're going to pay a little bit more. Look for Uncanny Stash. He always has the latest releases, CGC 9.8 at auction. So if you're into this book, just look for some of his future auctions. All right, time to dig into some other 1980s movie and toy properties. We've got Predator #1. This one sold for $414.99 in an auction. That's the lowest I've seen in a while for that one. It did have a little bit of scuffing, I think, on the book. Maybe not, but one of them did here recently. This book had been going for kind of more like $500 to $550, so this has taken another leg down. Predator #1. Aliens #1 is a very black cover and very, very low census count for the 9.8. This one did sell in an auction for $22.36. There was another auction that was about 4 months ago that started at $2,300 that did sell with one bid at $2,300. So this one's creeped down just a little bit at $22.36. But that was a really tough one to get in a 9.8. $22.36 for that one. G.I. Joe #1. This one has also come down just slightly. This one sold for $775. It had been going kind of $850 in auctions. Now this one sold for $775 on 49 bids. One of the more expensive books from the original Marvel G.I. Joe run is G.I. Joe number 21, the first appearance of Storm Shadow. This is the silent issue with Snake Eyes on the cover, very dark cover, so it shows every little spine tick on the left-hand side, and very tough to get in a 9.8. This one was listed for $1,500, and the best offer accepted was $1,400. So $1,400 to $1,600 seems to be the going rate for this one. I'd love to get this one eventually, but first appearance of Storm Shadow, $1,400 took that one home. Transformers number 1, again, it continues to hold its value fairly well. It's come down maybe slightly. This one sold for $1,324. It had been going kind of $1,500, $1,500 to $1,550. Origin and first appearance of the Autobots and Decepticons in a direct edition 9.8 with white pages. So $1,324 took that one home. Pretty good deal relative to where they've sold even a couple of months ago. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures number 1, the first appearance of Krang, Bebop, and Rocksteady, 3 villains. Great book. This is definitely one I want to get. I like this book a lot. In a direct edition, it was listed for $399.99. I found 2 sales, one at $375, which is what this one sold for in a make an offer situation, and I found one other sale in an auction for $347. So $350 to $375 for the direct edition. The newsstand probably more like $500 to $550 minimum, I think, for the newsstand on this one. I'd be happy with a direct edition. Great cover, and you get 3 villain first appearances. So good book there. Punisher in a newsstand, Punisher Limited Series, number 1 in a newsstand. Great book. And I was so tempted to bid on this one. I've got this one in a direct edition. I really wanted to get this one. It went a little higher than I wanted to pay, though. $10.87 and 80 cents. $10.87.80. 32 bids on that one. Probably about market value, to be honest with you. It's probably about market value. I'd love to get this one closer to $1,000, because once you factor in another 10% taxes for me, it just got too expensive. But newsstand edition, tougher to find this one in a newsstand. I would like to get it, though. This is the first ongoing Punisher series. Great Mike Zeck cover. I love it. I think it's just an awesome must-have. Copper Age Key. It's just awesome. I love that book. But newsstand edition, $10.87.80 on that one. And then we'll finish off with some Wolverine books. Wolverine number 10 in a newsstand edition. This is the first fight between Sabretooth and Wolverine in the Wolverine series. And it's the newsstand, harder to find newsstand. That one sold for $260, about right, about where it's supposed to go. $225 maybe if you're lucky, but $260, $250, $260 is about the going rate for that one. And it's an okay cover. It's not my favorite Bill Sienkiewicz cover, but it's not bad, and I wouldn't mind having it. Incredible Hulk 340. This is the second fight between the Incredible Hulk and Wolverine in comics. I've got 2 of these in a 9.8 edition. This is just a great Todd McFarlane cover. This one sold for $1,000. That's about what I paid for mine here recently, too. I didn't have to pay taxes on mine, though, so I was very happy to see this one go for $1,000 in an auction for 17 bids. And just a beautiful example there. That was freshly graded. Perfect colors on that one as well. You got to look out for the centering on this book. A lot of them get miscut at the top, to where the incredible portion of the wording there is right at the very top of the book. But this one was perfectly cut, perfectly centered with perfect colors. So $1,000 on that was a great deal, and a price I'd pay all day long, because I just did about 3 months ago. And then finally, Wolverine number 8. This is kind of a great Joe Fixit cover with Wolverine as Patch. I think we're going to be seeing Wolverine as Patch in like a younger multiverse version in the new Deadpool 3 movie. We'll see. It was kind of like a back shot of him in the trailer, but it was a white tuxedo, and it looked like a younger version of Wolverine. I'm only speculating, but I bet we see him. I would be shocked if we don't see Hulk in the new Deadpool movie as well. I hope we do. So anyway, this one was listed for $300. It sold in a make an offer situation for $290, and I found one other sale for this exact book, exact same grade, for $310. So lots of good books here. Most of these are Copper Age keys I wanted to cover, because Copper Age keys and 9.8s are really kind of flat right now, and now's a good time to pick them up if you're into those like I am. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.